Perfect. All right. Well, welcome, Assemblywoman Petrie-Norris, to the Sustainable Future podcast. We are so excited to have you. First of all, can you just tell us a little bit about your background and your story? What led you to where you are right now?
Well, hi, Matthew. It's great to be here. I'm really looking forward to catching up, and thanks so much for inviting me. I'm Cottie Petrie-Norris, and it's my honor and privilege to serve right now in the California State Assembly. I was first elected in 2018, and this is actually the first time I have held elected office. And in 2018, when I put up my hand to run, it was the first time I had run for elected office. So I spent my career in the business world. I worked for everything from Fortune 500 financial services companies to small startups to kind of everything in between. And spent some of my career working and living in South Africa. Spent some of my career working and living in London, which is actually where both of my two boys were born. I've got two boys, so I've got a 13-year-old and a 15-year-old. I've also got a fur baby, my rescue dog Flounder. And I guess rewinding a little bit more, I grew up in San Diego County. So I grew up not too far from here, but in La Mesa, California, and went to our local public schools down there. And I think getting to the point of, why did I decide to run for office? One of the things that has been so important as a focus for me as a mom and as an assemblywoman has been California schools and education. And I was lucky enough growing up in San Diego County and La Mesa to go to a great public school. And we didn't live in an affluent community. We didn't have a ton of resources, but I went to a great school and I had a couple of really incredible teachers who, honestly, I look back on those years and I look back on those teachers as really changing the course of my life. And they opened up windows of opportunity for me that I never could have conceived of. So after high school, I went on to college. I went to Yale University, where I double majored in English and economics. And as I said, started a 20-year career in business that has led me to this point. And, when I just look at the trajectory of my life and the opportunities that I have, it's really, really important to me now as a policymaker and an assembly member that we are ensuring that we're opening those same windows of opportunities for kids all across the state. Whatever your zip code. And we know that that's the right thing to do. And that's the smart thing to do, not just for individual children and individual families. That's the smart thing for us to do for California to ensure our continued growth and our continued prosperity. And certainly that has been an area of focus for me as I've been serving as your assembly member for the last 4 years.
Amazing. Thank you. San Diego is actually doing really well right now in baseball, the Major League Baseball. The
Yeah,
Padres they beat the Dodgers to the playoffs.
I know, but I know everyone was a little bit heartbroken when there were no California teams this time in the World Series, which
Right.
left everyone feeling a little disappointed. But there's
Next
always
time.
next year. There's always
That's
next year.
right. Well, I know that you talked a little bit about starting in business and then moving to policy. And just in the time that I've known you, I know that you are an extremely compassionate policymaker, someone who has a lot of empathy for your constituents. So I'm curious, I'm really curious, what kind of ignited or sparked that change going from business to policy?
I will tell you that fire really started to, I guess, get the match got struck after the 2016 election. And, really, I think like millions of Americans, that was a real, I guess, moment of reckoning for me and a real kind of moment of taking stock and kind of an awakening in a way. And it really did make me look at everyone who was representing me at every level, from the president to my state representatives, to my local folks, and realize these people do not reflect me. They don't reflect my values. I don't believe they reflect the values of this community. They're not working on issues that I care about, and they're not delivering. And I think I was really motivated to not just sit on the sidelines and complain about the stuff I didn't like, or post angry stuff on Facebook. I wanted to turn, and we often say this phrase, I wanted to turn that anger into action, and that frustration into organization and mobilization. And that set me on a path to deciding to run in 2018 against, it was a sitting Republican incumbent assembly member. Like I said, I just thought, you know what? He's not delivering. He doesn't stand for our values, and he is not delivering for this community. And it's time for a change. So I decided to run. And from around my kitchen table, we built a grassroots campaign. We were the little grassroots campaign that could. And really against all the odds in 2018, I won. And we were part of the blue wave that swept Orange County in 2018. And we elected, from city council to Congress, from school board to state assembly. We really changed the face of elected leadership here in Orange County. And over the past 4 years, it's just really it has been a tremendous honor and privilege to serve our community. I take it really seriously that the almost 500,000 residents of this district have put their faith and their trust in me. And I feel like I try to always approach this job. I'm not a political insider. I'm not a career politician. I'm a businesswoman. I'm a mom. And fundamentally, I'm a representative of this community, which is why I work really hard just to stay in touch with our community and folks in our district, so that I understand what issues are important to you, make sure that I'm advocating for policies that are addressing the challenges and opportunities that families across this district face each and every day.
Amazing. Well, we here in your district in Orange County are so glad that you decided to run, and we are so glad, so happy that you did win and are serving us to your fullest capacity right now. And me personally, I've read and heard a lot about your accomplishments in terms of legislation, in terms of community outreach from your office, from your team. But maybe you could talk a little bit about what you are perhaps most proud of accomplishing during your last term.
I am so proud of the work that my team and I have been able to do to bring resources back to our community, to address priorities and important initiatives here at home. And I'll highlight, I think, a couple of things that I'm really proud that we've been able to work on. So the first is related to veterans homelessness. And this is, it's a top priority for me. And I'll tell you, it's really it's front of mind for me right now, because I just came from our fourth annual Veterans of the Year celebration. And it's an opportunity for us to honor veterans. We honor one veteran in each of the cities that I represent. And it's just always such a really special day. And it's our opportunity to honor those men and women, the heroes in our own communities who have sacrificed so much for our nation and given of themselves for our country. And I know we can all agree that no one who has served this country, no one who has fought for our democracy should ever find themselves without a roof over their heads, or find themselves sleeping on the streets at night. And sadly, we know that far too many veterans fall into homelessness, including right here in Orange County. So I have been really focused on this issue, and have been was able early in my first term. It was in my first term, we secured $2.9 million of funding for a program called Welcome Home OC, which is a program to end veteran homelessness in Orange County. And with this program, we have been able to house more than 100 veterans. And what we do with this program isn't just ensure that they've got a roof over their heads, but provide the wraparound services and support that some of our veterans need in order to stay housed, including mental health services and other supportive services. So that is a priority and something I'm very proud of what we've been able to do there. And I think the second thing that I'm was really gratifying to be able to work on has been wildfire prevention. And as I know we're going to talk a little bit more about some of the work that I've done on climate action more broadly, but we know that all across the state, sometimes it seems like we're living in a disaster movie, right? Raging wildfires, severe drought, 1,000-year floods. We know that our hots are getting hotter, the dries are getting drier, and wildfire season isn't just a seasonal threat now. It's a year-round threat. And our district, we don't think of it as, we're not in sort of the rural, we're not a rural district, but there's a lot of our community that is right in the urban and wildland interface. And the risk of wildfire is really a clear and present danger for our community. So I knew that that was a top priority for me when I first joined the Assembly and met with our local first responders. And as I was sitting down with the Orange County Fire Authority with Chief Fennessy, he shared a vision with me for a program that would deploy military grade technology and equipment to the way that we respond to and fight wildfires. And I knew I wanted to be part of making that a reality. Again, was able to secure state funding for that program. Over the last several years, we've rolled that out across Southern California, and it's called FIRUS. And that system has demonstrated its ability to save lives, preserve property, and provide our first responders with real-time information on the ground with it utilizes predictive technology and statistical modeling to tell our first responders where is a fire going in 3, 6, 9 hours so that we can better deploy resources, better organize any kind of evacuations. And that program has been so successful that in this year's budget, we were able to secure funding to roll that out statewide. So excited about that. And it's really incredible, I think, to be in a position to help to bring something like that to reality and help to make our community safer.
That is incredible. I recently gave a presentation to the Orange County Red Cross on natural disasters and wildfires, and it is a very prevalent issue that is ravaging the forests and
Yep.
national parks of California. So this is an issue that is urgent, and I am glad that we are acting upon it. Let's talk climate. I know that you have done much in your term so far for the environment, for our oceans, for our natural habitats. Could you talk a little bit about, I know you've already discussed the wildfire program. If you could kind of elaborate more on that issue of climate change and the environment, and get into, in your next term, what you hope to achieve for climate action.
We know that California has and will continue to be a global leader when it comes to climate action. We have set some of the most ambitious emissions reductions goals in the world. We're working really hard to achieve those goals. Alongside that continued work, we've also got to get really serious. I think about a couple of other things. So the first is safeguarding California from the inevitable impacts of the climate crisis, right? We know no matter how fast we move, no matter how quickly we lower emissions, we are going to be confronting catastrophic climate disasters, rising seas. We talked about catastrophic, devastating wildfires, severe drought. And so alongside our efforts to lower emissions, we've got to do the work of ensuring that our communities are better prepared for these natural disasters and the increased frequency and intensity of these kinds of disasters. And really and truly, that is nowhere more true than on the coast. California's coast is it's like something like 980 miles or 890 miles of absolutely breathtaking beauty. It is a place of solace and recreation, and it's our home. It's home to 70% of Californians live in what is described as coastal communities. And the reality is that when we look at the impending threat of sea level rise, billions of dollars and millions of people and our entire way of life is at risk. And that's why I've been really focused as we talk about the need to build climate resilience. And it's not just about building resilience to sea level rise, but sea level rise is an important element of that. Historically, our communities have not treated that with the level of urgency that is needed. It's kind of this slow moving tsunami, right? And it's been kind of easy to bury our heads in the sand because it's 100 years away or it's 50 years away. But the reality is that scientists now predict that sea levels will rise substantially by the year 2050. And our communities need to be better prepared, and we need to invest in solutions that are going to enable us to blunt the impact of rising seas. And something that I have really championed is are solutions that are described as green or natural infrastructure solutions. So people sometimes talk about, building seawalls. What we've learned is that actually exacerbates the problem and can make it worse. When you use natural infrastructure solutions, when you use effectively nature as its own best defense, you get solutions that are more resilient than seawalls and actually more cost effective than seawalls. Even when Trump was the head of the EPA and he had all these climate deniers at the EPA, even they agreed that natural infrastructure solutions, so sand dune replenishment, kelp forest, mussel, and other kind of crustacean habitats, more cost effective and more resilient than these gray infrastructure solutions. And so that's something that have really championed in the Assembly, and we've secured funding that is going to be rolled out statewide across our coastal communities. So I think climate resilience is and will continue to be a big area of focus for me. The second is, I mentioned that we've secured a bunch of funding. The second is ensuring good oversight and accountability. So California, we've the last 2 years, we've had a historic budget surplus that has enabled us to make huge investments in so many areas, including in building climate resilience. So we are investing billions and billions of dollars, which is incredibly exciting and sets us on a path both to, as I said, hit these emissions goals and also build resilience across the state. But we've got to make sure right now that those historic investments yield historic results. And so I'm really, really focused on ensuring A, that we get our fair share of dollars here in Orange County, and B, that those dollars are working for us and delivering solutions. And then I think the last thing that I want to highlight that I'm really excited about working on in the next legislative session, and I think is so important, is we've got, in my mind, to start doing a better job at incentivizing investments in emerging clean energy, clean tech, green energy sectors, and in ensuring that those innovations are happening in California, that those companies are getting built and grown and succeed here in California. And that's super important for a couple of reasons. So number one is that when we talk about our climate and emissions goals, yes, those are important. Yes, those can sometimes send market signals that have an effect that goes beyond California's borders. But really, when you look at the impact that lowering emissions in California has on a global scale, it's not significant. The way that we can have an impact on the climate crisis on a global scale is for California to be the birthplace for these breakthrough innovations, these breakthrough technologies that are going to enable us to actually tackle the climate crisis. And we can, export those solutions around the globe. And of course, having that stuff happen here in California is also a way for us to ensure economic growth, economic prosperity, and continue to position us as a global and world class economy. So I'm very excited about doing some more work in that arena next year.
Fabulous. Um, I know this is election week. We only have a few days, 4 days until election day, November 8th. It's coming up.
That's right. It's a final countdown, Matthew.
That's right. And I know I've been a follower of your social media accounts on Facebook, and Instagram for a long time. And it's so nice to see you out in the community in our district in Orange County, just doing what you do, and meeting new people and recognizing groups that sometimes are under-recognized. And I know that in these last few weeks, sometimes campaigning can be tiring. But what is, in your opinion, one of the most enjoyable or some of the most gratifying parts about meeting these amazing, amazing people in our district?
Matthew, I'll tell you my favorite part about this job has been the folks in our community that I get to meet and connect with, because I do feel like I have an opportunity to meet some of our very brightest lights. And the truth is that right now there's a lot of negativity in our world, right? There's a lot of people who are, on social media or on cable news, with a lot of just real negativity. And I think it's easy for people to sort of feel discouraged sometimes. And when I am out in the community, or as I mentioned, I was at our Veterans of the Year event today, the people that I am acknowledging, the people that we are honoring, the people that we are presenting with certificates, they are people who, they don't just sit at home on Facebook and complain about stuff, right? They're out in the world being part of the solution and solving the problems and bringing light and hope and possibility. And that really just inspires me each and every day, inspires me to want to do more, want to do better, and really is one of the most, as I said, fulfilling and rewarding parts of this work.
Right. Just to name a few examples, I saw yesterday you were at Solis Park School, the new school
Yes.
that launched in IUSD, and I think it was the KCS Health Center that also did an opening. And so it's just so nice to see, you out there in the community and reaching out to these really great people. And I just want to say again, thank you for what you do. It's always inspiring to have a legislator who is empathetic and compassionate to her community, and reflects that in legislation. So thank you. And as we wrap up, I just had some fun questions that I think it would be great for our listeners to get to know you a little bit. Are there any books that are you're catching up on, or movies and TV shows that you're interested in right now?
So we have been watching, my husband and I have been watching this new Game of Thrones, the sort of Game of Thrones prequel, The House of the Dragon. So
Yeah.
we just finished watching that one. And maybe I'm in sort of like it's like a historical fiction sort of mode. I just finished reading a series of books by somebody named Kate Quinn. It's called the Empress of Rome series, which are, just kind of fun and, not too serious, like good bedtime reading. So just finished those. And really in my spare time, when I have it, I love to just go on walks with my dog, enjoy a little bit of hiking, or I try to do, it doesn't always happen, Matthew, but I try to do yoga every morning, which, keeps me grounded, keeps me breathing, sort of keeps me centered.
Right. Well, final question I have to ask. Do you have any tips for, or pieces of advice for, aspiring community leaders. I know a lot of listeners to our podcast are um, very young, some students my age, others aged 18 to 25. And we look up to people, leaders like yourself. And so, do you have any advice as we enter different stages in our life to serve and support our community?
I would say the most important thing is just do it. Follow that little voice in your heart that tells you there's a need, that tells you there's, something that you're passionate about. And don't ever let anyone tell you, oh, you're not young enough, you're not old enough, you're not experienced enough. Oh gosh, you've got to wait your turn. There are all kinds of roadblocks that folks will try to put in your way and in your path. And when it comes, I think, particularly to being a leader in your community or public service, I think just believing in yourself and believing that you have something important to give is so important. And do not let the naysayers drag you down or hold you back. I mean, you're such a great example of that, Matthew, right? You're 15, right? You're 15 years old, and no, you're not going to listen to anyone who says, oh, you got to wait till you're 18 to get involved in politics, or oh gosh, no one's going to listen to you and you're trying to be an organizer when you're just a kid. You can accomplish truly incredible things. And the reality is we need your voices. You can probably hear my dog in the background. We need your voices. We do not have all the answers. I think that the state of the world is ample proof that the grownups in the room don't have all the answers. We need your voices. We need your passion, and we need your great ideas.
So nice to hear your dog, by the way.
He's
But
on it. He's a fierce defender.
that's right. Well, I couldn't agree more. I think that it's important for youth to get involved, no matter what age. And Assemblywoman Petrie-Norris, I want to say from the bottom of my heart, thank you for what you do for our community, for our district, for our amazing county. And we are rooting for you this in the next 4 days. And we know that you will always have our back. So thank you so much again.
Oh, thank you, Matthew. It was really great to spend some time with you. Appreciate that support, and look forward to connecting again soon.
Thank you. You too. Perfect. All right. I will pause the recording.